31 Vocabulary. 31.1 Environmental concerns. Factory emissions contribute to global warming. Global warming. Opening square bracket. The increase in the Earth's temperature. The protesters wanted to raise awareness of climate change. Climate change. Opening square bracket. Changes in the Earth's weather patterns. 122. Carbon dioxide is a well-known greenhouse gas. Greenhouse gases. Opening square bracket. Gases that cause the greenhouse effect, heating up the Earth. Coal and oil are fossil fuels, which produce carbon dioxide. Fossil fuels. Opening square bracket. Fuels based on oil, coal, and gas. This process consumes a lot of fuel. Consume. Opening square bracket. Use a supply of something, such as fuel or energy. Flying less will help reduce your carbon footprint. Reduce your carbon footprint. Lower the level of carbon dioxide produced by your actions. We need new laws if we are going to tackle pollution. Tackle pollution. Opening square bracket. Deal with the problem of pollution. It is essential that we start using more types of alternative energy. Alternative energy. Opening square bracket. Energy that does not use fossil fuels. Wind and solar are fairly green energy sources. Green energy sources. Types of energy that do not damage the environment. It is more economical to use renewable energy. Renewable energy. Energy from sources that do not run out. Minus 20%. These big cars can be very harmful to the environment. Harmful to the environment. Causing damage to the environment. Polluted rivers have dire consequences for local wildlife. Dire consequences. Very bad results. Some people use solar power to heat their water. Solar power. Opening square bracket. Energy created using sunlight. A lot of the houses here have solar panels on their roofs. Solar panel. Opening square bracket. Equipment needed to turn sunlight into electricity. Here we use turbines to turn wind power into electricity. Wind power. Opening square bracket. Energy created using the wind. This wind farm has been running for 8 years. Wind farm. Opening square bracket. A place with many turbines for generating wind power. After years of poaching, the white rhino is endangered. Endangered. Opening square bracket. At risk of extinction. Dinosaurs have been extinct for millions of years. Extinct. Opening square bracket. No longer existing. It's terrible to see the destruction of the rainforests. Destruction. Opening square bracket. The act of damaging something so badly that it cannot survive or be repaired. As the planet heats up, it will undergo irreversible change. Irreversible change. Opening square bracket. Permanent change that cannot be undone. 123. 32 conditional tenses. You can use the third conditional to describe an unreal past, or events that did not happen. This is useful for talking about regrets you have about the past. 32.1 Key language. The third conditional. New language. The third conditional are vocabulary. Environmental threats. New skill. Talking about an unreal past. Second conditional. The second conditional is used to describe unreal situations in the present. Third conditional. Use the third conditional to describe unreal situations in the past. If I lived in New York, I would go running in Central Park. If we had left earlier, we would have caught the train. 32.2 How to form the third conditional. If. HAD plus past participle. We had left earlier. The if clause is the unreal past condition. WOULD, could, might. We would. Using different modals varies the certainty of the imagined result. 32.3 Another way to say the third conditional. 124. The past perfect continuous can also. HAVE plus past participle. Have caught the train. The conditional clause is the unreal result. Follow, if, in the third conditional. If you'd been wearing a coat, you would have stayed warm. We would have caught the train if we'd left on time. Often, have, is contracted when spoken. Sentences in the third conditional can be reordered without a comma so the if clause is second. 32.4 Fill in the gaps by putting the verbs in the correct tenses to make sentences in the third conditional. If he had asked, opening parenthesis, ask me to marry him, I would have said, opening parenthesis, would say, yes. If I, opening parenthesis, choose the trip, we, opening parenthesis, would go to Spain. If we, 3, 4 if we, 5 she, if you, opening parenthesis, arrive earlier, we, opening parenthesis, could help them if they, opening parenthesis, stop eating earlier, we, opening parenthesis, would pass her exam if she, opening parenthesis, shut the door, we, opening parenthesis, would not miss the show, opening parenthesis, call me earlier, opening parenthesis, might not feel so sick, opening parenthesis, work a bit harder, opening parenthesis, might not be so cold. 32.5 Key language formal inversion. You can make the third conditional more formal by inverting the subject and had and dropping if. If you had attended the meeting, you would have met the manager. Had you attended the meeting, you would have met the manager. This is used more in formal and academic written English. 32.6 Listen to the audio and mark the things that actually happened. A, B, 3, A, 125. 32.7 Pronunciation contracted forms. In spoken English, you will often hear the contracted forms of would have, could have, and might have. The vowel sound before the final V is a lazy sound. 32.8 Say the sentences out loud using the contracted forms. They would have taken my car if I had not paid the bill. They would have taken my car if I hadn't paid the bill. Filled circle I might have worked harder if I had been paid more. Would have. 2 If more people had voted for him, he would have won. Could have, might have. If you had left earlier, we would have arrived on time. Oh, she might have finished on time if she had started sooner. 32.9 Rewrite the sentences, correcting the errors. If Jack had visited sooner, he will have seen us. If Jack had visited sooner, he would have seen us. If you'll have kept the fire alight, we wouldn't have been so cold. 2 You might slept better if you had brought a sleeping bag. 3 If she'd wore her boots, she wouldn't have had such wet feet. 126. If they'd keep the river clean, the fish not might have died. IND. 32.10 Read the article and answer the questions. There are only a few rhinos left in Java. True. False. The last Javan rhino in Vietnam died of old age. True. False. It is important to protect the rhino's habitat. True. False. Rhinos naturally live in tropical forests. True. False. It is quite cheap to buy rhino horn. True. False. Rhino horn is mostly used in cooking. True. False. The leaflet says there is nothing that readers can do. True. False. Conservation Weekly. Save the Javan rhino. In 2010, the last surviving Javan rhino in Vietnam was killed for its horn. How can we make sure that the same does not happen to the few remaining rhinos on Java? What can we do differently? Firstly, if the rhino's habitat poachers take huge risks to had been better protected, the rhinos would have had a much greater chance of survival. Not only does their natural tropical rainforest habitat provide a place for the rhinos to live and find food, but it also acts as a place to hide from hunters and poachers. We also need to stop the market in rhino horns. Prices are so high that. Go to our website for more information. Get them. Had we persuaded more people not to use rhino horn in traditional medicines, we might have saved that last Javan rhino in Vietnam. We must do all we can to stop the illegal trade in rhino horn. 32.11 Listen to the audio and mark the correct summary. In the 1930s, more than 3/4 of Java was covered in forest. The Javan tiger was classified as endangered in 1976 and now it is nearly extinct. The population of its main food source, the Rusa deer, has also declined. Greater than in the 1930s, nearly a quarter of Java was covered in forest. The Javan tiger was last seen in the wild in 1976 and is now classified as extinct. The population of its main food source, the Rusa deer, has also declined. Greater than in the 1930s, more than half of Java was covered in forest. The Javan tiger was last seen in the wild in 1952 and is now classified as extinct. The population of its main food source, the Rusa deer, has increased significantly. 127. 32.12 Key language, I wish. Present regrets. You can express regrets about the present in a similar way to the second conditional by using I wish. Single quote. Past regrets. You can also use I wish to express regrets about the past in a similar way to the third conditional. The snow is amazing. I wish I knew how to ski. Wish plus past has present meaning. My camera has no power. I wish I'd charged the battery. Wish plus had plus past participle has past meaning. 32.13 Another way to say I wish. Present regrets. You can express stronger regrets about the present by using if only and the past tense. These mountains are incredible. If only I knew how to ski. Past regrets. You can express stronger regrets about the past by using if only with had and the past participle. I really wanted to take pictures. If only I'd charged the battery. 32.14 Cross out the incorrect words in each sentence. There wasn't much wildlife. I wish I had saw more animals. I wish we hadn't been outdoors right now. 2. I think about the trip a lot. I wish I had taken more photos. Right pointing arrow. I feel sick. If only I had ate fewer of those berries. The bus has broken down. If only the driver had knew how to fix it. 6. I'm so exhausted. If only I slept a little more. 128. 32.15 Fill in the gaps to make I wish and if only sentences. I was so hot in the sun today. I wish I had remembered my hat. Opening parenthesis. Remember, hat. Dot. I missed the bus again. I wish I caught a huge fish yesterday. If only. I can't afford those boots. If only. I was so cold this winter. I wish. 32.16 Read the article and complete the sentences. 76. Environment update. Opening parenthesis. Set alarm. Dot. Opening parenthesis. Take photo. Dot. Opening parenthesis. Not spend money. Dot. Opening parenthesis. Buy coat. Dot. I wish I'd gone sailing with him. He wished he'd fisherman from killing the seal. He thought if only he'd something to protect the seals. If I hadn't helped, I know I would have guilty forever. If he'd seen me become a campaigner, he'd have very proud. Why are you a campaigner? My gran tell me stories of his adventures. Grandfather was a sailor and explored the world. Never asked me to go sailing with him, though I would have loved to. Once, in the 1930s, he saw fishermen killing a Caribbean monk seal. He wanted to stop the fishermen, and always felt bad that he did not do anything. After about 20 years, he read that the very last Caribbean monk seal had been killed. He always regretted not doing anything to protect these seals. Many years later, when I was in Greece, I saw a leaflet about the endangered Mediterranean monk seal. I knew I had to help, or else I'd feel guilty forever. Unfortunately, my grandfather never knew I became a campaigner. He'd be very proud. 32 checklist. The third conditonal. Are environmental threats. Talking about an unreal past. 129. 29. 33 past regrets. You can use should have or ought to have to talk about past mistakes. They both signal that you wish you had done something differently in the past. Asterisk new language, should have, and ought to have, are vocabulary time markers. New skill expressing regret about the past. 33.1 key language, should have, and ought to have. You use should have or ought to have to express regret about something that did not happen in the past. Ought to is less common than should and usually sounds more formal. This bill is so big. I should have used less electricity. 33.2 further examples, should have and ought to have. Perhaps I ought to have used energy-saving light bulbs. The negative form, ought not to have, is grammatically correct, but it is rarely used. I shouldn't have fallen asleep with the TV on. 33.3 fill in the gaps using should have, or shouldn't have. We shouldn't have. 0 people. Factories. 3 companies' factories. Damaged the environment. It's becoming a long-term problem. Thrown things in the river. The fish population has declined dramatically. Reduced pollution in accordance with environmental agreements. Used fewer vehicles in order to lower their carbon footprint. Released pollution into the water. It has poisoned the ecosystem. 130. 33.4 Rewrite the sentences, correcting the errors. You really should have not watched a horror film on your own. You really shouldn't have watched a horror film on your own. I ought to have gone to bed earlier last night. I'm feeling really exhausted now. Greater than we really shouldn't to have eaten so much at lunchtime. I'm feeling sleepy now. You should drove more carefully on the wet road. You could have had an accident. Should have I bought this desktop computer, or would the laptop have been better? 33.5 Read the article. And answer the questions. Humans intentionally introduce non-native species. True, false. New species are introduced to help other animals. True, false. Right pointing arrow. Sometimes no animals hunt the introduced species. True, false. The small Indian mongoose is not native to Mauritius. True, false. The mongooses killed the rats on Mauritius. True, false. 6. The mongooses also killed all the local animals. True, false. 58. The environment. Mongoose madness. Mongooses wreak havoc on Mauritius. 1. Surprising. Environmental problem caused by humans is the introduction of non-native species of animals to solve local problems. The new species is supposed to eat the animal that is causing a problem for humans. The difficulties arise when there are no predators for this newly introduced species, or when it decides to feed on plants and animals that we do want. For example, the small Indian mongoose was introduced to Mauritius and should have dealt with an ever-growing rat population. The mongooses killed the rats, but then they also killed many local animals which then became extinct on the island. 131. 33.6 Vocabulary time markers. 1980s. During the 1980s, people invested money in the factories. Initially, the factories were quite small. Opening square bracket. At first, the factories were quite small. Closing square bracket. Opening square bracket. At some point in the 1980s, people invested in the factories. Closing square bracket. 1990s. Throughout the 1990s, the factories grew in size. Opening square bracket. From the beginning to the end of the 1990s, the factories grew in size. Closing square bracket. 33.7 Listen to the audio and number the pictures in the order they are described. B1. RR 33.8 Listen again and fill the gaps using the words from 33.6. Initially, Easter Island was expansively forested. The rise of a new civilization, the islanders built statues to honor their ancestors. This time, the islanders were cutting down lots of trees. His visit, the first European explorer noticed that there weren't many trees. The ship HMS Blossom visited in 1825, and an airport was built in 1987 and the statues had been toppled over. Lots of tourists have visited Easter Island. 132. 2004. Pollution peaked in 2004. By that time many trees had died. Opening square bracket. At the start of 2004, many trees had already died. Closing square bracket. 2005. Following new laws in 2005, pollution levels dropped. Opening square bracket. After new laws were passed in 2005, pollution levels dropped. Closing square bracket. Since then, there have been some signs of a recovery. Opening square bracket. From that point onward, there has been a slight recovery. 33.9 Read the article and answer the questions. Humans are producing less waste now than they used to. True. False. Not given. Radioactive waste is the most widespread problem. True. False. Not given. 2 All the waste is poured into rivers. True. False. Not given. Right pointing arrow The kind of waste humans produce has changed over time. True. False. Not given. Modern plastics can be difficult to dispose of effectively. True. False. Not given. 28 The environment. The problem with pollution levels rising across the globe. The growing human population is producing more and more waste, ranging from sewage and smog to radioactive fuel. Dealing with all this waste is a huge problem. Much of it is just dumped, pumped into the atmosphere, or even poured into rivers and oceans. The resulting pollution is damaging nature. One of the main issues is the kind of waste humans are now producing. Until the mid-20th century, most of the waste was buried and it just slowly decayed. Nowadays, however, modern plastics make up a large portion of what we throw away. These plastics are almost indestructible by any natural process, so they just pile up, creating huge heaps of waste. 33. Checklist. Should have, and, ought to have. RR time markers. Expressing regret about the past. 133. 34 Actions and consequences. Unlike many parts of speech, prepositions often have little meaning in themselves, but work to change the meaning of the words around them. 34.1 Key language-dependent prepositions. Some words need to go with specific, dependent, prepositions. I am late for my meeting. Late could not be paired with any other preposition in this context. New language-dependent prepositions are vocabulary actions and consequences new skill-changing sentence stress. We agreed about the idea. He's really afraid of flying. There was an increase in sales. RR 34.2 Fill in the gaps using the dependent preposition phrases. In the panel. Recently, there has been a lack of energy in the team. Decline in. Please make sure you help if you need it. Talk about. 2 Who is giving the lecture? I have never. Him. Arguing about. My brother and I are always. Current affairs. Grateful for. Tack of. For the global. 6 Thank you so much. I am so. When you're stressed, it is good to. The 8. Most of the population. All of the scientific evidence. Natural resources is worrying. Knows about. All you have done. Problems. Heard of. Points in. The economic crisis is enormous. Ask for. Climate change. Effect of. One Direction. 134. 34.3. Fill in the gaps with the correct prepositions. Have you ever heard of Esperanto? How do I ask? Directions in Greek. Why do they always argue? Everything? I don't think we'll ever agree. This. There was a decline. The number of birds. There's a lot to be grateful. 7. I really don't want to be late. My mother is very afraid. Work. Heights. Oh, this demonstrates a real lack. Talent. What is the long-term effect? This. 34.4. Key language words with more than one dependent preposition. Some words can pair with more than one preposition. The change in preposition often changes the meaning of the phrase. He talked to the teacher. Opening square bracket. He had a conversation with the teacher. Closing square bracket. He talked about the teacher. Opening square bracket. He had a conversation with someone else about the teacher. Closing square bracket. 34.5. Listen to the audio and cross out the incorrect prepositions. Technology is a great way to increase interest with the environment. I'm so bored about their constant fighting about policies. 2. They've made a new app for children to learn about the earth. Do you have any objection for this environmental policy? Diamond suit. I often worry about the future of our planet. You need to apologize for them too, for the things you said. Do you think a policy like this is suitable for a country like ours? 135. 34.6. Pronunciation. Sentence stress. You can change the meaning of a sentence by emphasizing different words as you say it. The journalist called the mayor today. Opening square bracket. Her assistant didn't make the call. Closing square bracket. The journalist called the mayor today. Opening square bracket. She didn't email. Closing square bracket. The journalist called the mayor today. Opening square bracket. She didn't call the mayor's secretary. Closing square bracket. The journalist called the mayor today. Opening square bracket. She didn't call yesterday. Closing square bracket. 136. 34.7. Underline the words you need to stress and say each sentence out loud. The minister changed the policy content this afternoon. Opening square bracket. Not just the policy title. Closing square bracket. What do you think of the new statistics in this report? Opening square bracket. I know what everyone else thinks. Closing square bracket. These carbon emissions are extremely harmful to the environment. Opening square bracket. I know you think they aren't. Closing square bracket. It is very important that we think of our children's futures. Opening square bracket. Not just their present state. Closing square bracket. We need to find solutions sooner rather than later. Opening square bracket. It is not optional. Closing square bracket. RR 34.8. Read the text, then fill in the gaps using the words in the panel. 93. Environment News Weekly. Growth and decay. The complex effects of urbanization in a rapidly changing world. Urbanization. The population shift from rural areas to towns and cities has been happening for centuries. However, the rate and extent of population shift has reached astonishing levels. Some Asian cities, such as Osaka, Jakarta, Mumbai, Seoul, and Beijing, already have populations of more than 20 million people. What are the environmental consequences of urbanization on such a massive scale? One major effect of urbanization is the creation of urban heat islands. Rural areas can remain cooler, the sun evaporating the moisture from the vegetation and the soil. However, in the sun beating on the buildings, the cities there is much less soil and vegetation. And roads. To an increase in temperatures. Additional heat from vehicles, factories, and cooling units also increases temperatures. This heat then weather patterns. Changes in local. Not only is there increased air pollution, but also higher levels of rainfall. Flooding within the cities themselves and also downstream. Another urbanization is the increased consumption of food, energy, and durable goods. This has a far-reaching on levels of natural resources. In causes, impact consequences. Due to consequently consequence. Leads. Resulting. 34 checklist. Dependent prepositions. Are actions and consequences. Changing sentence stress. 137. 35 few or little. The words used to describe quantities vary according to a number of factors, including whether you are talking about something countable or uncountable. New language, few, little, fewer, less, are vocabulary, nature and environment. New skill describing quantities. 35.1 Key language, FEW. For small numbers use few with a plural countable noun to say that there are not many of something. It emphasizes how small the number is. You use a few to mean some. It emphasizes that the number, though small, is enough. Few equals not many. There are few rare birds here. We probably won't see any. Sheng yi. A few some. There are a few rare birds here. We might see one. Lu. 35.2 Key language, little. The small amounts use little with an uncountable noun to say that there is not much of something. It emphasizes how small the amount is. You use a little to mean some. It emphasizes that the amount, though small, is enough. Little not much. I have little money left. I can't afford to visit the wildlife park. A little some. Tip. You can add very to few and little to mean almost none. Single quote. I have a little money left. Should we visit the wildlife park? 35.3 Other ways to use little and few for small quantities. Informally, you can use a little bit of instead of a little. Single quote. There's a little bit of the park that we haven't seen yet. Little and few can also be used as pronouns to mean not much, many. Single quote. Little can be done when few are willing to contribute. 138. 35.4 Cross out the incorrect words in each sentence. 0. I'm so excited. I've got a few hours to explore the city tonight. 3. 6. I'm afraid we have a little time to catch the train. We must hurry. That cake is delicious. I'll have a little bit more. Sadly, there are a few examples of this quality craftsmanship left. Great. We have a little spare money. Should we go out for dinner? Wow. Look at all these monkeys. I think there are a few different species here. Unfortunately, I have a few friends. It's quite lonely here. 35.5 Look at the pictures and fill in the gaps using a few, or a little. There is little. OMG. Water left. Great. There are magazines to choose from. Sadly, there are fish in my aquarium. In the bottle. I'm so thirsty. Right pointing arrow. There is very cake left, I'm afraid. It should be okay. We have time left. The cafe is closing soon. There are customers. 139. 35.6 Key language, quite a few and quite a bit of. For big quantities. The phrases quite a bit of and quite a few are Understatements that actually mean a lot or many. Single quote. Quite a few equals many. Quite a bit of a lot of. The park has been open for quite a few years. They collected quite a bit of money for charity. 35.7 Fill in the gaps using a few and a little. 90-year-old Ken Wilson has finally decided to have a little time off after volunteering at his local wildlife park for 30 years. Ken started volunteering years after he retired from teaching. He says, "I started making coffee for people in the little visitor center, but I've had quite since then." Single quote. Different roles. Ken has been a guide, he's surveyed butterflies, and he even managed to get his hands dirty quite times clearing up litter. What does he like so much about the park? Well, there are green places left like this in big cities. For or no money, a family can explore all day and learn about local wildlife. It's bit of calm in a busy world. Single quote. What will he do now? I'd like quite days sitting in the park doing nothing. After 3 decades looking after the wildlife, it's time for Ken to take break. 140. Wildlife Cafe. Fee. UCINO. SNOS. 35.8 Key language, FEWER, and less. Confusion between less and fewer is very common. Remember to use less with uncountable nouns and fewer with plural countable nouns. Issues is a plural countable noun. There are fewer issues with electric cars these days. It would be great to use less fuel. Fuel is an uncountable noun. 35.9 Further examples, FEWER, and less. There are fewer whales in the oceans nowadays. Dollar. We need to spend less money. Money is uncountable, but currencies like dollars are countable. Fewer people enjoy gardening these days. There is much less traffic today. 35.10 Match the beginnings of the sentences to the correct endings. People are spending much less volunteers than last year. 1. Protesters have demanded fewer wildlife near big factory sites. 3. The charity has fewer. The new light bulbs use far less money on organic food than expected. Electricity than the old ones. Unsurprisingly, there is much less pollution in the capital city. Since the new traffic laws, there is a lot less harmful emissions by 2025. 141. 35.11 Key language, fewer than, and less than. Use less than when talking about amounts, distances, time, and money. Use fewer than for groups of people or things. There are fewer than 3,500 tigers in the wild. Baby elephants weigh less than 300 pounds. 35.12 Further examples, fewer than, and less than. The charity survives with fewer than 20 volunteers. There are fewer than 50 tickets left for the charity concert. Charity workers are paid less than $10 an hour. You can donate less than the recommended amount. 35.13 Listen to the audio and answer the questions. A local radio news station is reporting about an environmental campaigner's recent success. Environmental campaigner Rachel Roberts is 70 years old. The proposal was to build houses on the site of the lake. Rachel's family used to have family picnics near Lake Lucid. There were only modern pictures at the photography exhibition. True. False. True. True. False. False. True. False. After 25 days, the exhibition had raised just under $3,000. 5 people have come to visit the lake from other countries. The plans for the bypass are delayed, but are still going ahead. false, false, true, false, true, true, par, 142. 35.14 Fill in the gaps in the summary of 35.13, using the phrases in the panel. Few people would have believed the government would change their minds. Rachel also had the help of friends during her campaign. 2. Rachel knew that people held the same opinion as her. Right pointing arrow. The area is home to 500 plant and animal species. The photography exhibition raised $25,000 in a week. People sent messages of support via social media sites. Making Lake Lucid a popular tourist site will only take years. Few, a few, more than, quite a few, less than, quite a few, a few. 35. Checklist. Few, little, fewer, less. Nature and environment. Describing quantities. Review the English you have learned in units 32 to 35. New language. The third conditional. I wish, and, if only. Should have, and, ought to have. Dependent prepositions. FEW, and, little. FEWER, and, less. Sample sentence. If we had left earlier, we would have caught the train. I wish I knew how to ski. If only I'd charged the battery. This bill is so big, I should have used less electricity. I am late for my meeting. There are few rare birds here. I have little money left. There are fewer issues with electric cars. It would be great to use less fuel. 0, 0, 0, unit. 32.1, 32.12, 32.13, 33.1, 34.1, 34.4, 35.1, 35.2, 35.8, 143, 36 vocabulary, 36.1 tradition, luck, and superstition. I told a white lie and said the dress looked good on her. Tell a white lie. Opening square bracket. Say something that is not true to avoid upsetting someone. She always drops hints about the presents she wants. Drop a hint. Opening square bracket. Say something indirectly. Varanda started a rumor that Sonia stole some money. Start. Spread a rumor. To start, continue saying things that may or may not be true. Paolo loves to gossip. He's always talking behind people's backs. Gossip. Opening square bracket. Talk about other people, often in a negative way. I have a sneaking suspicion that he won't come to the party tonight. Have a sneaking suspicion. Have a persistent idea about something with little evidence. I don't believe in ghosts. Believe in something. Think that something exists or is true. I haven't ever broken a bone. Knock on wood. Knock on wood. US. Touch wood. UK. Opening square bracket. Wish for good luck, or avert bad luck. Close your eyes and make a wish. Make a wish. Opening square bracket. Hope for something to happen. I have serious misgivings about this new policy. Have serious misgivings, doubts. Have a strong feeling that something is not right. She was such a tattletale at school. Tattletale. US. Telltale. UK. Opening square bracket. Somebody who tells an authority figure when another person has done something wrong. The best type of publicity is word of mouth. Word of mouth. Opening square bracket. Information or news transmitted by people telling other people. I want you to tell me the truth, not another fairy tale. Fairy tale. Opening square bracket. A traditional story with magic, or a story designed to mislead others. That story about the haunted hotel is just an urban myth. Urban myth. Opening square bracket. A modern story which is untrue but believed by many. A black cat is seen as both a good and bad omen. Good, bad omen. Opening square bracket. A positive, negative sign about something that will happen. Winning that car was a real stroke of luck. A stroke of luck. Opening square bracket. A single piece of good fortune. Winning that game was just beginner's luck. Beginner's luck. Opening square bracket. Have good fortune the first time you do something. This is a game of pure luck. Pure luck. Opening square bracket. Good fortune with no skill involved. I've just read a book about Chinese folklore. Folklore. Opening square bracket. Stories, sayings, and traditions from a certain area or culture. That generation has a different set of beliefs to ours. Set of beliefs. A group of values. She has an unshakable belief in the goodness of people. Unshakable belief. Opening square bracket. A firm and unchangeable conviction. 145. 37 Past possibility. You can use a variety of language to talk about possible events in the past, and to indicate whether you agree or disagree with speculation. 37.1 Key language past possibility. You can use this construction to talk about something that you think possibly happened in the past. New language, might, may, could, in the past are vocabulary urban myths. New skill talking about past possibility. Might. The copier isn't working. It may could have run out of paper. Opening square bracket. He thinks it is possible that the copier has run out of paper. Closing square bracket. You can use this construction to talk about something that possibly did not happen in the past. You might not have plugged it in properly. Opening square bracket. He thinks it is possible that the printer wasn't plugged in properly. Closing square bracket. Could not can only be used when the speaker is certain that something did not happen. 146. You couldn't have changed the ink properly earlier. Opening square bracket. He is certain that the ink wasn't changed properly. Closing square bracket. 37.2 Cross out the incorrect words in each sentence. $4. I feel a bit sick. I might, may not, could not have eaten something bad. It was raining, so I could, might not, could not have gone sunbathing even if I had wanted to. Look at him. Do you think he might, may not, could not have won the lottery? If I had left the house a little earlier, I may, might not, could not have missed the bus. I don't know where she is. She could, may not, could not have gone for a run. She loves exercise. 37.3 Listen to the audio and write answers to the questions in full sentences. Sophie is telling her friend about an urban myth that she's heard. What is an urban myth? An urban myth is a modern story that isn't true, but lots of people think it is. How did Sophie's opinion change about her brother's story? 2. Why were the golfers celebrating? What did they do after they knocked over the kangaroo? Oh, what did the kangaroo do when it woke up? 6. Why couldn't the golfers continue driving home? 147. 37.4 Key language reported speech. In reported speech, the main verb often changes tense to a past form. You may also need to change a time or place reference. I don't believe these ghost stories. The present simple, don't, becomes past simple, didn't. Single quote. He said that he didn't believe those ghost stories. These is replaced by the more distant, those. Single quote. In reported open questions, the subject comes before the verb and you don't use a question form. What are you reading? In reported closed questions, with a yes, no answer, you use if or whether. Single quote. Are you enjoying it? I asked her what she was reading. I asked her whether, if, she was enjoying it. 37.5 Rewrite the sentences using reported speech. Amal has bought a book about ghosts. Amal said that she had bought a book about ghosts. Amal's reading a scary story. Amal mentioned 2 Amal's finished the book. Amal told me, "Are you going to the movies?" I asked her, "What kind of movie are you going to see?" I asked her, 6 Did you enjoy it? I asked her, 148. VX. 37.6 Read the email and answer the questions. Carl went to New Zealand before Australia. True. False. Not given. Right pointing arrow. Last week Sophie visited their father. True. False. Not given. 2 Their father had received an email from the bank. True. False. Not given. Right pointing arrow. The email looked genuine. True. False. Not given. The police have found the email scammers. True. False. Not given. 6 Their father cannot get the money back. True. False. Not given. 2. Carl Underwood. Subject. Update from home. Hi Carl. Your Australian vacation photos look great. I'm just writing to keep you up to date with events while you're away. I've been looking after Dad and I went to see him last week. I'm afraid he looked quite a sorry sight. He said that he'd received an email asking for his bank details. He sent them and then someone stole money out of his account. At first sight, the email really looked like one from his bank, but it turned out to be fake. Well, I saw red and called the police and the bank immediately, and luckily they agreed to refund his money. I've told him to call me if another email like that arrives. Other than that, everything is fine here. Keep having fun. Sophie. RR 37.7 Fill in the gaps using the idioms in the panel. The detectives said they were looking into the case. Filled circle. I was so angry that I just and shouted. The poor dog had been left in the cold and was a very. The watch looked genuine, but it wasn't. I'll just have to. About my English test results. At first sight. Saw red. Looking into. Sorry sight. Wait and see. 37 checklist. Might, may, could, in the past. Urban myths. Talking about past possibility. 149. 38 Speculation and deduction. You can use modal verbs to describe past events with varying degrees of certainty. These constructions are useful for speculating about events you haven't witnessed. New language. More uses for modal verbs are vocabulary. Phrasal verbs without, new skills. Speculating and making deductions. 38.1 Key language modal verbs for speculation and deduction. When you're speculating about the past and you're sure something happened, use must have with the past participle. When you're not sure, he just disappeared. Aliens must have abducted him. The speaker is sure whether something happened or not. Replace must with may, might, or could. Single quote. Might. They have taken him to another planet. May, could. The speaker is unsure. If you are sure something did not. Hold on. It. I can't. Have been aliens, they don't exist. Happen, use, can't. Couldn't. Or, couldn't. Single quote. 150. The speaker is sure it is not possible. 38.2 Match the pairs of sentences together. He drove his car into the water. He's walking with crutches. Those teenagers look very tired today. The plants are all dry and dead. Someone's left the gate open again. The girl next door looks really happy. He must have hurt his legs. It could have been the delivery man. They may have had a party last night. He couldn't have seen the flood sign. She might have passed her exam. It can't have rained all week. 38.3 Rewrite the sentences, correcting the errors. She broke her arm falling off a horse. It might have hurt. She broke her arm falling off a horse. It must have hurt. Filled circle. The ground is dry so it can't rained last night. She ate 2 more slices of cake, so it could have tasted nice. Right pointing arrow. A police car just drove past. There might have was a robbery. He doesn't have any money. He can't not have bought that car himself. They were in the same store as us. They have might buy the same coat. 38.4 Cross out the incorrect words in each sentence. He had a brand new waterproof coat on. He must, might, can't have stayed dry. I missed a call. It must, may, couldn't have been Diego. He said he might call. I haven't checked my emails yet, so she must, might, can't have replied already. I'm not sure. After the run, he drank a whole bottle of water. He must, might, can't have been really thirsty. She loved both dresses, but she must, might, can't have bought both, as they were too expensive. She hadn't slept for 2 days. She must, might, can't have been exhausted. K. 151. 152. 38.5 Describe what each person must have done, speaking out loud. He must have scored a goal. 321. Passed her driving test. Eaten too much candy. Scored a goal. Won the lottery. Slept through his alarm. Failed their exams. 38.6 Listen to the audio and mark the correct summary. A radio host is talking about the unsolved mystery of the SS Orang Medan. The ship sent out a call saying that most of the crew had passed out. The Silver Star went to check out the ship and found that everyone on board was dead except the dog, which had passed out. 2. The ship sent out a call saying that a few of the crew were dead. The Silver Star went to check out the ship and the sailors freaked out when they saw the dead crew. However, the dog was still alive. The ship sent out a call saying that most of the crew were dead. The Silver Star's crew went to check out the ship and found that everyone on board, including the dog, had died with their eyes still open. 38.7 Fill in the gaps using the phrasal verbs in the panel. I was so scared on the roller coaster ride that I nearly filled circle every month my company. Every time my sister sees a spider, she should we go to the movie theater and passed out a newsletter to all its customers and starts screaming. What's showing? He isn't like anyone else. He really. From the crowd. 5. I can't. What this guy's written. His handwriting is awful. Passed out. Sends out. Stands out. Check out. Work out. Freaks out. 38.8 Read the article and answer the questions. Lateral thinking puzzles give you a lot of information. True. False. Pete lives on the 10th floor of the apartment building. True. False. Pete always gets out of the elevator at the right floor for his apartment. True. False. Games and puzzles. Lateral thinking puzzles. With a lateral thinking puzzle, you are given an unusual situation and a little information. Your task is to discover the explanation. Can you work this one out? A young boy, Pete, lives on the 12th floor of an apartment building. Every morning he takes the elevator down to the lobby. In the evening, he gets into the elevator, and, if there's someone else there, he goes up too. Pete doesn't like walking, but he sometimes climbs 2 flights of stairs. His floor directly. Otherwise, he goes to. True. False. The article tells you the solution to the puzzle about Pete. True. False. The 10th floor and walks up 2 flights of stairs to his apartment. He does this even though he hates walking. Why? The solution to this puzzle is that the young boy is too short to reach the buttons for those floors numbered above 10. 38. Checklist. More uses for modal verbs. Are phrasal verbs with out. Speculating and making deductions. 153. 39 Mixed conditionals. You can use different types of conditional statements to talk about hypothetical situations. Mixed conditionals use more than one of these types in the same statement. 39.1 Key language mixed conditionals. New language mixed conditionals. Are vocabulary personality traits. New skill talking about hypothetical situations. Second conditional. Use the second conditional to talk about hypothetical situations in the present. Past simple. Third conditional. Use the third conditional to talk about hypothetical situations in the past. Past perfect. If I didn't believe in astrology, I wouldn't read my horoscope. WOULD plus infinitive. If I had known he was an Aquarius, I would not have gone out with him. WOULD plus HAVE plus past participle. Mixed conditional. Mixed conditionals combine second and third conditionals. If you had been born a month earlier, you would be a Virgo like me. 39.2 Further examples. Mixed conditionals. Mixed conditionals are often used to express regret. If I had finished my assignment sooner, I could be out with my friends today. You would be starting a new school tomorrow if you hadn't failed your exams. You can use mixed conditionals to refer to future situations. 154. N. 39.3 Match the beginnings of the sentences to the correct endings. If you had kept on going to the gym, you wouldn't be such a success today. If my alarm had gone off, she might not be such a celebrity. He would be playing today. If you had spent less money. If I had given up trying. If we had eaten breakfast. If you hadn't worked so hard at school. If she hadn't had famous parents. You wouldn't have such great tickets. You would be fitter by now. I wouldn't be in trouble for being late. I wouldn't be managing the business today. We might not be so hungry now. If he hadn't broken his leg yesterday. 39.4 Fill in the gaps by putting the verbs in the correct tense. If he had not fixed, opening parenthesis, not fix, my car, I would still be walking to work every day. If Clara, opening parenthesis, not stay, up so late, she might not be so tired now. Right pointing arrow, she might not be a famous actress today if she, opening parenthesis, not go, to that first audition. 3 If he, if Juan, opening parenthesis, keep, playing the guitar, he would be in a famous band by now. Opening parenthesis, listen. To all his critics, he would not be a world-famous chef today. Right pointing arrow, he would not be playing for a Premier team if he, opening parenthesis, not train, every day. If she, opening parenthesis, say, yes, to your proposal, you could be married by now. They would not be so confident if they, opening parenthesis, see, their team training yesterday. 155. 39.5 Listen to the horoscope and answer the questions. You have had good ideas, but you haven't used them sensibly. True. False. You need to get others to invest in your business. True. False. Right pointing arrow, you should be braver in promoting your ideas at work. True. False. Right pointing arrow, you should have said sorry for something yesterday. True. False. You will definitely have an exciting weekend, especially Sunday. True. False. If it's your birthday, today is a good day to care for your friends. True. False. RR 39.6 Use the adjectives from the panel to complete the sentences. He reads lots of books and loves going to museums. He's very intellectual. You need. 2 He's so. 3 My husband is really. 156. If he hadn't been so violent and if she hadn't been so. Jane is very. Staff who turn up on time and do their work. He just jumped into the fire to save the kitten. He even cries during romantic films. He would not be in jail today. She might not be such a successful singer. She can fix the car and put up shelves. Intellectual, sensitive, determined. Courageous. Reliable, quick-tempered, practical. 39.7 Read the article and correct the statements. In your stars. Home 1 Entries 1 About 1 Contact. AC. Diane Carter. 24. Scorpio. October 24th to November 22nd. I'm a Scorpio and I check my stars every day. I've got an app on my smartphone and it's one of the first things I read in the mornings. If the horoscope says I shouldn't do something, I won't. For example, if it says, don't travel, then there's no chance of me getting on a plane that day. I know that, logically, it's very unlikely that anything will happen, but I don't want to take the risk. I'm a typical Scorpio because I'm quite passionate about things, but I'm also a little obsessive. I guess that's why I have to check my stars every day. Richard Davis, 22. Sagittarius. November 24th to December 22nd. I'm Sagittarius, I think, but I never think about horoscopes. I think that it's all nonsense. I mean, when you read the things that they say will happen to you on a certain day, there's a fair chance that they will happen to most people on most days. Things like, you'll get some news or, you'll talk to a stranger. I also think that, if you believe in these things, then it is inevitable that the predictions will suit what happens because you will make them fit. I mean, if you wear red because your stars tell you to, and everything is okay, then you can say that the horoscope was right. Apparently, I'm supposed to be intellectual and superficial. I'm not sure how I can be both. Diane reads her stars in the newspaper first thing every day. Diane reads her stars on a phone app first thing every day. Diane would not change her plans because of her horoscope's advice. Diane thinks she's a typical Scorpio because she's not very passionate about things. Right pointing arrow. Richard thinks that things a horoscope says will happen are unlikely. He says it's surprising how many times horoscopes make correct predictions. 39 checklist. Mixed conditionals. RR personality traits. Talking about hypothetical situations. 157. 40. Adding ever to question words. Adding ever to question words changes their meaning. These new words modify the question words to mean no matter or it doesn't matter. Single quote. New language words with ever, are vocabulary chance and weather phrases. New skill joining a clause to a sentence. 40.1 Key language question words with ever. You can use ever words as subjects, objects, or adverbs in their own clauses. They can also be used to join a clause to the rest of a sentence. 158. I'm still going to the game, whatever the weather's like. Opening square bracket. It doesn't matter what the weather is like. I'm still going. Closing square bracket. Here, whichever, is an object. We can take a taxi or walk, whichever you prefer. Opening square bracket. It doesn't matter to me which you choose, taxi or walking. Closing square bracket. Here, whoever, is a subject. Whoever invented the umbrella was a very clever person indeed. Opening square bracket. I don't know who invented the umbrella, but they were very clever. Closing square bracket. It always seems to rain whenever I go away. Opening square bracket. Anytime I go away, it rains. Closing square bracket. I always check the forecast for wherever I'm going to be. Opening square bracket. I check the forecast for the place I am going to be, no matter where it is. Closing square bracket. Here, however, is an adverb. If there's a chance of rain, however small, I'll take an umbrella. Opening square bracket. I'll take an umbrella, no matter how small the risk of rain. Closing square bracket. 40.2 Cross out the incorrect word in each sentence. Whoever, whatever choice you make, you know we'll support you. Filled circle by red or green peppers, however, whichever is the cheapest. She moves every few years to wherever, whatever her company asks her to go. Right pointing arrow. I love going to concerts and watching live music, whenever, whoever is playing. My mother never likes my brother's girlfriends, however, whoever nice they are. Right pointing arrow. The company director visits our office whenever, wherever she's in town. The competition winner deserves praise, however, whoever they are. The company is in a difficult situation, whichever, however way you look at it. 40.3 Fill in the gaps using the words in the panel. Whatever. I'm happy to go. Wherever you like for a vacation, as long as there's a beach. She's an excellent cook. I'm sure. Cake I choose will be delicious. Sometimes I just can't start my car. I don't think I'll ever be a good long-distance runner. During the winter months, we can visit the castle for free. I will give my full support to the next head chef. I do. It's really frustrating. It is. Hard I try. We want. Whichever. Whoever. Whenever. Wherever. However. Why. 159. 40.4 Read the email and write answers to the questions as full sentences. 2. Larry Roberts. Subject. Update from home. Hi Larry, I hope you're having a great time in Chile. I've had an unusual week here. I got an email saying that I'd won a competition for 2 free bungee jumps. It was a bit of a bolt from the blue because I'd completely forgotten that I'd even entered the competition. I was on cloud 9, so I told my sister. I thought she would be overjoyed like me, but she was so moody. You know what she's like, always wanting to get all the attention and trying to steal my thunder. Well, I asked her if she'd do it with me. I thought it would be really funny because she hates heights. The jump was all planned for Thursday, but as I was driving to her house, she sent me a text message saying that she had the flu and so would have to take a rain check. I thought this was a bit odd because she was as right as rain the night before. Anyway, I had already decided that I was doing this jump come rain or shine, so I went without her. I jumped off the canal bridge. It was absolutely awesome. So now I'm just going to throw caution to the wind and do a skydive next year. I already can't wait. Matt. 160. Where is Larry at the moment? At the moment, Larry is in Chile. Why was the email from the adventure activity company a surprise? Why wasn't Matt's sister happy about his prize? Why did Matt's sister say that she couldn't do the bungee jump? Where did Matt do the bungee jump? What is Matt planning to do next year? X. R 40.5 Match up the pairs of sentences that mean the same thing. Go on. Throw caution to the wind. She's feeling good and healthy this morning. She looks extremely happy this morning. Do it and don't worry about the consequences. Maybe you should accept the offer at a later date. She's feeling right as rain this morning. You're constantly trying to steal my thunder. The party's happening come rain or shine. You're always trying to take attention away from me. She seems to be on cloud 9 this morning. That news is a great surprise. Perhaps you should take a rain check. It's going to take place whatever happens. Wow. That's a bolt from the blue. 40. Checklist. Words with ever, are chance and weather phrases. Joining a clause to a sentence. Right pointing arrow. Review the English you have learned in units 37 to 40. New language. Past possibility. Reported speech. Speculation and deduction. Mixed conditionals. Adding EVER to question words. Sample sentence. The printer isn't working. It might have run out of paper. He said that he didn't believe those ghost stories. Aliens might have taken him to another planet. If you had been born a month earlier, you would be a Virgo like me. I'm still going to the game, whatever the weather's like. M00, Unit 37.1, 37.4, 38.1, 39.1, 40.1, 161.